Hi, it's Tammy from Cozy Pop Crochet. This isn't a full tutorial for the Franklin footprint spreader, but it's just going to show you some of the tricky bits that might be a bit difficult to understand in the instructions. So I hope it helps. You can purchase the full pattern on Etsy. It comes in 7 sizes. I'll put the listing in the description below so that you can find it easily if you'd like to purchase my pattern. To make this pattern in the extra small size, you will need 43 grams of 10-ply yarn or worsted medium Aran, whatever you call it in your country. I am using Red Heart Super Saver in the color light blue. You will need a 5mm crochet hook. You will need a yarn needle, and you will need a pair of scissors. To start, we're going to chain 9. And I always start my jumpers by creating the collar piece first. Well, so far I've always started my jumpers that way. Who knows, things could change. All right, so we chain 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then what we're going to do is a single crochet in the second chain from the hook. So this is the first chain, this is the second chain. We're going to single crochet into that second chain. And then we're going to do a single crochet into every chain along. And by the time we're finished, we should have a row of 8 single crochet. There we are. Now what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1, turn our work. This is where it gets a bit tricky if you've never done anything other than a basic stitch. We're going to do a single crochet into the back loop only. So normally for a single crochet, when you do the stitch, you go through both of these loops. But when we're doing the back loop only, we're only going to use the back loop. So this is the front loop and this is the back loop. So skip the front loop and just put our hook through that loop. And then we just do a single crochet like normal. Just like so. And we do the same thing again. So skip the front loop and just go into that back loop. And you do that the whole way along the row. So it should be 8 single crochets into the back loop only. And then we get to the end of the row, we chain 1 and we turn. And we do the same thing again. It's 8 single crochets into the back loop only. And we do that until the pattern says row 31. So we keep doing 8 single crochets, back loop only, until we get to row 31. Okay, that's my second completed row of 8 double crochets into the back loop only. I will meet you when we have done 31 rows. Here I am with my 31 rows of my 8 single crochet in back loop only. You can see it creates this nice little ribbing sort of pattern for the collar, and it's nice and stretchy. Now what we're going to do is chain 1, and instead of working along this side here, we're going to turn the collar and we're going to work along this side here. And we're going to single crochet 12 stitches and in 1 into each single crochet row. So this is a row of single crochet, this is a row of single crochet. So I'm going to insert into the first row, and I like to use this little spot here, and I'm just going to do a single crochet, and then I'm going to go into the next row, and I like to use this little spot here for this row. That's 2 single crochets. Then I'm going to go into that same spot that I used for the first one, 3 single crochet, and then that same spot here that I used for the second one. So that's 4 single crochet. And I do that until I got up to 12 single crochets into those first 12 single crochet rows. One more, 12. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to chain 7, and then we're going to skip 7 rows of single crochet. So we chain 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we're going to skip 7 single crochet rows. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that means we're going to go into this 8th one here with just a normal single crochet. Beautiful. And that just creates like a little hole that the lead can go through so you can take your dog for a walk with their little sweater on. And then after this one, we've got 11 more single crochets into the tops of these rows. Last one in here. Beautiful. And then what we're going to do is we are going to chain 2, and this doesn't count as a stitch throughout the whole pattern. And then we're going to turn our work and start working along this first row here of single crochet. So this is going to be row 2 of our extra small jumper pattern. And what we're going to do is we're going to do 2 double crochets into the first stitch. That's just going to start to widen the jumper out so that it fits around your dog's torso. So 2 double crochets into this first stitch here, 1 and 2. And then we're going to do 2 double crochets into this second stitch here, just like the pattern instructions say. And then we're going to do 27 double crochets the whole way along until we get to these last 2 stitches, where we're going to do 2 double crochets and then 2 double crochets. All right, we're at the last 2 stitches. Don't get confused with this one here. That's the chain one that we used to turn the fabric on the side. So the last 2 stitches are these 2 here. And so we're just going to do 2 double crochets into each of those last stitches, 1 and 2. And then 2 more double crochets into this last stitch. And then we're going to chain 2. And then we're going to turn our work. And that again doesn't count as a stitch. Row 3, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go 2 double crochets into the first stitch, 2 double crochets into the second stitch, then we're going to do a double crochet into the next 2 stitches, and then we're going to start making our first footprint. So we're going to go 2 double crochets here, and 2 double crochets here. And then we're going to just do 2 normal double crochets into these stitches. And then this is how we start to create the footprint. So we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to skip this stitch here, and then we're going to do a double crochet into the next stitch. And then we're going to chain 1 again, and we're going to skip this stitch here, and we're going to do a double crochet into the next stitch. And then we need to do 8 more to make the 9 double crochet. One more. Okay, then we're going to do the same thing again. So we're going to chain 1. We're going to skip this stitch, and we're going to do a double crochet into the next stitch. And then we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to skip this stitch, and then we're going to do 9 double crochets starting from this stitch here. And then we're going to do it again. We're going to chain 1, skip this stitch, and double crochet into the next stitch. And then we're going to chain 1, skip this stitch, and double crochet into the next stitch. And then we've just got 1 more normal double crochet. And then to finish the row 3 off from the instructions, we're going to do 2 double crochets into each of these last 2 stitches here. 1, 2, 1, 2. And then we're going to chain 2, and we're going to turn our work. All right, so for row 4 we're going to do 2 double crochets into the first stitch here, and then we're going to do 1 normal double crochet, and then because this is the extra small pattern, we're going to start creating the sleeves for the leg holes for the dog's legs to go through now, which means we'll miss out on the pad for this doggy footprint, but I'll show you how to do it on this one here. So we're going to chain 8, 1, 2, then we're going to skip 8 stitches, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and the 8 stitches include these chain spaces here as well. And then we're going to do 7 double crochets, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and we're going to do a double crochet into this stitch here, and then we've got to do 7 in total before we get to the next instruction. Okay, so now we're going to chain 1, and we're going to skip 1 stitch, and then we're going to double crochet into this chain 1 space that we created in the last row. So double crochet into that chain 1 space, that's it, and then we're just going to do a normal double crochet into this double crochet here, and then we're going to do a double crochet into this chain space here, and then we're going to chain 1, we're going to skip this double crochet, and we're going to do a double crochet into this space here, and then we've got 6 more double crochets to do while we're following the instructions, so there should be 7 double crochets in this part in total. And then we're going to chain 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're skipping 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then we're going to do a double crochet into the next stitch, and then we're going to do 2 double crochets into that last stitch, 1 and 2, and then we're going to chain 2, and we're going to turn. Now for this row we're not going to do any more increasing, so we're not going to do 2 double crochet at the start, we're just going to do 18 double crochet, just like the instructions say. Alright, so we've got 18 double crochet. Now we're going to do 1 double crochet into this chain 1 space that we did in the last row, and we're going to chain 3. So 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to skip these 3 stitches here, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to do a double crochet into this chain 1 space from the previous row. And you've just created your first little paw print. And now we're going to do 18 stitches, 18 double crochets to finish off the row. And I am just doing these stitches into each individual chain space like I did at the start when we were doing our first row of single crochet right back here at the very start. And we're going to chain 2 at the end, always chain 2, and turn. Now for this row we're going to do 19 double crochet, and we're going to do 3 double crochets into the chain 3 space, and then finish the row with 19 double crochet at the end. Super easy. right, now I've shown you how to do most of the tricky parts, so you should already know how to do your leg holes. You've made your first paw prints, so you should be able to do all the other paw prints really easily. And I've shown you how to crochet into the top of this ribbed part of the sweater here and how to create this little chain space. I will meet you when you've finished creating the most part of the body of the sweater and we start reducing the sweater so that it sits over your little doggy's bum. All right. So I've completed the main part of the body of the sweater for the extra small size. Now the instructions are to chain 1 and then we just cut the thread here. Just leave enough of a tail to weave in at the end. And then just pull the thread all the way through like that, and that just secures that little bit there for us. And then what we're going to do is turn the sweater and we're going to begin crocheting up here. So for the extra small, we have to skip 3 stitches and then we slip stitch into the next stitch, so the 4th stitch along. So 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to slip stitch into this stitch here. And then we're going to chain 2. And then we're going to do a double crochet into that same stitch we've just done the slip stitch in. So double crochet. Beautiful. And then we're going to do 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to do another paw, so we're going to do chain 1, skip 1 stitch, double crochet into the next, chain 1, skip 1 stitch, double crochet into the next, and then we do 9 double crochet here. 9, and then we create another paw, so we chain 1, skip 1 stitch, double crochet into the next, chain 1, skip 1 stitch, and then we do 9 double crochet, and then we do 1 more paw print here, and then we do 4 double crochet, and then there should be 3 stitches here that we don't go into, 1, 2, 3, which will be the same that we didn't go into at this end at the start. And we chain 2, and then we turn our work. Okay. And we're going to start the row by doing a double crochet 2 together. So we just double crochet 2 together. And then we just do 1 double crochet. And then we're at the paw print part, so we'll chain 1, skip 1 stitch and double crochet into this space, 1 double crochet into the top of this double crochet, 1 double crochet into this space, and then we chain 1, and then we skip 1 stitch, and then we do 7 double crochets in between these paws. All right, we're at the end of the row. We've just finished this last paw print, done 1 double crochet, and now the instructions are to do a double crochet 2 together at the end of the row. So we're going to double crochet 2 together, and then we're going to chain 2, and then we're going to turn our work. Then we're going to start the next row by double crocheting 2 together again. And then we'll follow the instructions for the rest of this row in the pattern, and then we'll do double crochet 2 together at the end, and the double crochet 2 together creates a cute little tapering just to make it a little bit smaller. Okay, we're at the end of, we are at the end of the row again, and we're going to do a double crochet 2 together, and you basically just keep following those instructions if they say to do a double crochet 2 together at the end of each row. Super easy. I'm going to chain 2 and turn. I'm going to start this last row with double crochet 2 together again. The extra small pattern is super quick and easy to make. I'm going into the chain space to finish off the paw, not through the individual chain links. I am at the end of the last row for the extra small sweater. So the last instruction is to double crochet 2 together here. That's a normal double crochet. Excuse me. Sorry. And then we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to cut the thread, making sure to leave a long enough tail to be able to weave in the ends. And then we're going to pull all of that yarn through to tie it off. And there is the main body of the sweater. All we're going to do now is fold it in half, like so, and just single crochet along this edge here. Don't single crochet this. It won't fit your dog if you do that. Or you can do a slip stitch. Pick your poison, babe. It's poison either way. I'll just show you quickly how I do it. Get all of the string out of the way. Do a slip stitch. And then I make sure these are measured up, and then we insert into here, and then I just do single crochets the whole way along. I like to aim for about 1.5 single crochets per row of double crochet, and that tends to make the jumper not too tight, or it doesn't pucker it or make it too loose either. And always just making sure that the sweater's still lining up on the edges as you go. Cool. And then when I get to this part, I just like to make sure these 8 chains here that we started with match up to the tops of these 8 single crochets that we've got here. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and this is the 8th chain. So I just make sure that those 2 stitches will go together when I get up to this point here. Cool, 1, 3 like that. And then these should match up for the rest of the way. Beautiful. And then, you guessed it, we chain 1. We cut the thread, making sure there's a long enough tail to weave in. And then we pull the yarn the whole way through. And then you use your yarn needle to weave in all of the ends. And then once that's done, you turn your sweater inside out. Push out the seams with your fingers. And then your jumper's complete.